Hey, this is Sandy.
And Randy.
And we're here on AT Corner.
Being an athletic trainer comes with ups and downs, and we're here to showcase it all.
Join us as we share our world in sports medicine.
Welcome back to another episode of AT Corner. For this story episode, we are talking about getting the job.
Getting the job and going through the process.
I was going to say, I guess mostly the process of getting the job, I guess.
It's kind of like going on a bunch of first dates.
You know, that is true. And even some interviews, you do kind of go to dinner with people. So I guess that is like a first date.
I don't know. I've never done that.
It's kind of cool. I'll be honest. It's kind of cool.
Well, I can't wait to talk about that because I'm sure our listeners want to hear about your dinner interview.
Yes, it was, I mean, maybe not unique, but it was unique because that was the first time I had to go through it. So it was interesting.
So today we're talking all things interview. We are going to go over some interview questions that you should prep for, but we're also taking a spin on it. We're talking about taboo questions and how to answer them, and also some unique questions that some people have gotten that you may not normally prepare for.
Yes, I can say that I've been lucky that I haven't gotten asked what animal I would be.
I haven't either, but I do have a few unique ones I want to share.
Oh, I'm interested to hear.
I mean, even for our interviews, we ask people what their athletic training spirit animal is.
Yeah, that's true.
So just as a disclaimer before we start, yes, we do go over advice, and we're going to be talking about which interview questions you should prepare for at the end, and we're going to put those in our Facebook group. But I don't want you guys to... This is more like a fun story sharing episode.
I was going to say, sharing our experiences with interviews.
It's not going to be our typical education episode. We are going to do an education episode on interviews, so look out for that. But if you're looking for, what questions you should prepare for and how to answer certain questions in an interview, we're not there yet. That's not what this episode's for. So don't be expecting that.
This is more to reminisce about your interview experience and share your experience with someone else who might have had a similar deal.
Yeah, relate with others. So Anyway, let's get started. Something that I want to start with is actually the practical portion of the interview, because before I went on my first interview that had a practical portion, I had never even heard of this. So there's no chance that I prepared for it.
I just feel that's weird, because you already know, well, theoretically, you already know how to to do athletic training things because of your certification. So to have a practical portion, I feel like that's weird.
But I think it's not necessarily looking to see if you can do it. It's more seeing how you do it and also if you'd fit in their team.
Yeah, that's true.
So you want to read Scott's?
Yeah, so this one's by my guy, Scott M. For my practical portion, they told me they were going to give me a scenario, acute on-field injury, that they would keep asking questions through the return to play phase until I'm stumped and no longer had an answer, and was so detailed, step to step.
That's really daunting that they tell you we're going to go until you're stumped.
Yeah, they are letting you mentally prepare. He continues to say, I had to admit at least twice in that one question that I didn't know what to do / didn't know the answer / would have to refer out or ask a coworker about, which they appreciated. And that kind of goes into a quote that he provided by Craig Liebenson, don't be a know-it-all, be a learn-it-all.
I like that.
It is, yeah, that's very true. I think that's the attitude we should all take towards our careers.
And before we just start talking about this, I just want to put in Alyson's story right now too, because she said, I realized in interviews when someone asks, take me through a blank scenario like an ACL or like a player down on the field, etc., they actually want to see your confidence and resolution skills. So maybe you forgot to mention doing a specific special test. Who cares? They want to know, or at least make it sound like you know how to handle it, especially for young professionals or new grads. And
I could see that, because I was saying, your certification at least knows you should know how to do these special tests. So that's not the question. The question is the stuff that you can't really be taught very well is how do you handle the administrative stuff? How do you manage the follow-up steps to whatever happened on that field?
And I don't know if I already said this, but I feel like it's seeing how you work and how you would fit in their team. Because if you do something completely, I don't want to say if you do something completely different, because being different from your colleagues is not a bad thing. But if you do something
weird,
or if you're talking to a patient and it's just a different way that your coworkers would do it, that's not, I don't know how to, I don't have the words to explain this.
Like if you're doing
if you
things,
don't fit in the way that you do things.
Yes. No, I get what you're saying. Like if you're doing things that are like way out in left field, I mean, it just doesn't bring a good vibe sometimes.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily if you can do it or not.
Yes.
Because there are some people who are way overqualified for positions and they don't get them because it just wouldn't be a good fit. And it goes back and forth. And I think one of the things that you told me, Randy, that really helps me in interviews is interviews are not just these people trying to decide if you would be a good fit for them. But when you're in an interview, you should also be determining if that place is a good fit for you.
Oh, 100%. And that's hard for young ATs or new ATs because you just want the job. You feel like I need to take this job. Like I need a job. But sometimes you have to really step back and be like, is this place really right for me? Yeah, I've learned that the hard way.
I mean, I remember that you after a certain place, you were like, I have my doubts about this place because of certain things that they said. And I didn't really understand that yet. And I was like, how? How do you get that from an interview?
Yeah. Yeah, no, you can definitely get a sense on what they're saying. But that's the tough thing is because, I'm still young. And that was like my first, like, I guess, big boy interview. So I didn't know how exactly to feel. Like, am I feeling a normal sensation or what? So, no, but that's the whole you live and learn part. What's funny about Scott's story, though, is we were involved in the same interview process. I mean, this one seems a little more intense, so maybe this was like kind of a little more further along. But I was also given like an in-depth scenario about how to handle a certain injury. And then I also got like a soft like scenario on how to handle a different injury. So it was very interesting.
Lately I actually haven't gotten practical stuff in my interview, but I've gotten more verbal scenario based stuff.
Yeah.
Or I've actually gotten written scenario based where they give me 15 minutes and I have to write about a certain rehab or a certain return to play or how I would evaluate something.
I would say like most time it's like a verbal kind of scenario thing. And it's kind of like the basic ones that we mostly kind of talk about. But a practical portion, I've actually had to like treat a patient.
Oh, really?
Yes. It was very weird. I don't know. It was really awkward. I was very caught off guard.
How in depth? I feel like
they literally gave me the floor, like whatever you want to do. I'm like, all right. So then I had
that depends on how much time you have.
Yeah,
and
exactly. And I had to like, I don't know. I had to like do an eval, but then I was like, well, am I doing like how in depth is this? Like, I don't know.
Like, are you going to give me 20 minutes?
Yeah. Like, am I? I don't know. It was really weird.
Yeah, that's how I kind of felt about that written one. But I have been given how to fit crutches and how to tape an ankle. Or not how to, but like they wanted me to tape an ankle and they wanted me to fit crutches.
So interesting.
And I don't really get the ankle one because, I mean...
Everyone tapes differently.
I don't know. I didn't really get that one, but
Did you have your 3 stirrups?
I did. And I fanned them. So
okay.
And apparently I did heel locks the same direction that they did, so they appreciated that.
Oh, there we go.
Maybe that's what they were looking for.
Yeah,
They're like, oh, she's going to fit in.
Oh, yeah. She does the same heel locks, thank God.
But I do understand the crutches one because it wasn't so much the fact that I could fit crutches, I think. It was more about how is she going to interact with someone who's injured and how does she talk to them and how does she explain things?
I mean, it could still be the crutches. Like, everyone gets really frustrated when they see poorly fit crutches.
I haven't seen poorly fit crutches in a while, actually.
Yeah, it's pretty painful to watch.
It's painful to watch when the crutches fit, but no one taught the kid how to use crutches.
Walk.
it's like, you're going to hurt yourself more. Okay, so let's move into some unique questions that people have gotten.
All right.
I kind of put like 2 parts into this. We have some unique questions, and then I also messaged some people back and asked them how they answered them. So we're going to get a mix of certain questions that are cool and then also specific answers for them.
All right, I'm ready.
Okay, so first one. Erin V said, if you were a piece of AT equipment, what would you be?
I mean, this is just like our spirit animal, kind of.
I know.
I feel like that's it.
It is. So I put this one because of that. Because I hope that if you've ever listened to our interviews, that you thought about what your AT spirit animal is, because you might get it in an interview.
Well, I have definitely thought about what my AT spirit animal is now because of our podcast. Because I feel like if we're asking people, I need to have an answer to that.
See, what's funny is I didn't until we were asked by Nicolette and Scott in the little Zoom that we did about our podcast. Yeah, I didn't, and that was on the spot.
My answer's staying the same. I liked it.
You know, sometimes you're good on the spot, and sometimes you want to change it later.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There you go.
So Erin said, this was to get into my master's program, so I already knew the professors, so I didn't take it as seriously, and I answered, I would be a butterfly bandage because they look like they have arms that would give good hugs.
That's a pretty good answer. I never thought of the butterfly bandages in that fashion.
That's the first one of those that I've ever heard. I've never heard anyone talk about the butterfly bandages.
No. That's very interesting.
I feel like it's usually like tape or something in the kit or...
But also like giving good hugs now. I feel like that's a little harder because of the pandemic.
Yeah, but I don't know when this was.
No, I'm just saying.
Okay, this one I thought was just... I don't even know this one. I don't even know how I would respond.
Okay.
So Canyon B said, at the beginning of the interview, the interviewer asked me what a certain 3 numbers meant, and I didn't recognize them. He was looking at my resume, so I was trying to figure out what he was talking about and if it was like the time or something else. But before I could think of it, he told me it was my AT license number.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it was right after I got my license, and I was so worried about the interview, I didn't think about the simple stuff that I should know. I thought I was done for, but he was cool about it, and I got the job anyway.
Well, my thing is, I don't know my, like...
Your certification?
Yeah, I actually don't know it by heart. Every time I have to write it down, I have to look it up.
So, after this, I actually got this response while I was at work, and I opened it, and my boss was hanging out in the office, and I was like, hey... what's your certification number?
And what did he say?
He kind of thought for a little bit, and he said some numbers, and I think he was like 1 number off.
Now I feel bad. Now I feel like I need to memorize my number.
I'm really surprised you didn't memorize your number.
I don't know. I just felt... I don't know. That was just kind of weird.
I would not
question.
expect to have this in an interview.
No, not at all.
But good job, Canyon, for getting the job.
Yeah, man. Now I'm going to memorize my number.
So I actually think you're going to like this next one the best.
Okay.
So Jesse C said, if you were a Star Wars character...
Oh, yes.
Who would you be?
Yes. That is such a great question.
So at first I was kind of concerned because I was like, if I got that question, I don't think I know the characters well enough to know who I'm answering. Like, what if I just say I'm... What's that big ugly one?
The big... Wait, okay, there are a few ugly characters in
really, really, like, oozy one.
Oh, like Jabba the Hutt?
Yes.
I mean, he is a leader. Like, let's just be real. Like, he is a leader of smugglers and crime, so it could show leadership skills.
Okay.
See, I spun it for you, babe.
So this would be a good question for you.
Yes, I want to say, because I'm sorry, guys, the Empire's pretty cool. Like, let's just be honest. They have all the cool toys. Yeah, they're the bad guys, but still, they have the cool toys. They look cool. So, like, I would want to say, like, Darth Vader, but then let you really think about it, and, like, dude's evil and, like, killed people. And that's probably not a good look. So, thinking about it, I feel like I would be Obi-Wan.
Why?
He's like, I don't know, he's very patient. He's willing to take his time and learn things. I don't know. I feel like that would be me.
So you want to hear Jesse's answer?
Yes.
He said, this is actually during the interview for my current job. I think someone had asked a lighter question about my favorite movie. And I'm not really sure that I have one favorite because I love movies, but I said Star Wars is one of my favorites. Our head football coach at the time, who was also a Star Wars fan, asked the question. I really had to think about my answer, though. I said I wanted to be Han Solo, but really that's not me. I'm probably more of a Chewbacca.
Oh, that's a great answer. I love that. Who doesn't love Chewie? I mean, that's so true. I would love to have that question in an interview.
Oh, maybe you just need to lead them into it, kind of like...
I should make sure I tell them, what's your favorite Star Wars? We were going to say dinner, Star Wars. We'll just leave it at that.
So one question that I got that actually this guy named Raul P. also got, he said, what book/podcast are you listening to?
Oh, hopefully everyone's saying AT Corner.
I hope so. It was not when podcasts were as big as they are now. So they actually just asked me what book I was listening to. And I actually wasn't prepared for that either. Have you ever gotten that in an interview?
No, like I said, I've never really got like any, I don't want to say like it's off the wall, but I've never really gotten questions that aren't pertaining to the job. So I've never gotten any questions like that.
So we actually asked on our Instagram story if people could give us a question that they use to prep for interviews.
Yeah.
And I actually do want to put these in our Facebook group, and we're going to talk about that at the end if you guys aren't part of that yet. But we do have a list of questions that you should be typically seeing, such as everyone's favorite, tell me about yourself.
Of course, that's a classic.
Yeah. So in addition to what we're talking about, these unique questions, we're going to be putting those on our Facebook group as well. But going back to your point about how you said you only get questions that really relate to the job. I was talking to Raul, and he said, I think these questions are just to see how you're spending your time, also to learn about your interests and to see if you're a good fit.
Yeah, that's true. I can see that.
So, I mean, it is pertaining to the job, but it's more like...
Are you going to be cool to work with?
And speaking about cool to work with, I got this one that I think is just really hilarious, and I think it kind of goes to show the kind of... I mean, I don't know what place this is for, but it kind of goes to show the place that they're working for.
Okay, hit me with it.
Someone was asked, do you eat mac and cheese with a spoon or fork?
Oh, this place seems like a very serious place to work. 100%. This answer could bring people to like fisticuffs. So apparently it was an argument that they had in the athletic training room. So they were asking all the candidates to see what they were saying. I feel like if I was in charge of a committee, this would be a question that would come up. Like whatever we talked about in the ATR that day with the athletes, by the way, because I make sure like whatever our staff is talking about at work, like a debate comes up, I like to get the athletes' input. Our latest one that we argued was bone in or boneless buffalo wings. It got heated in the athletic training room amongst the athletes. It was fire. Okay, if it's buffalo wings, I don't care. If it's hot wings, I do care. Hot wings. Bone in, boneless. You already know my answer. Yeah, boneless all the way. No. So, going back to these unique questions, I thought that this... Oh, I don't know if you've ever heard this question about if you could be a spoon, fork, or knife, what would you be? Have you ever heard that? I've never heard that question. But a fork should be used for mac and cheese. I've never heard this either. But apparently, we got so many people who have gotten this question in D1 settings. Is that I guess I need to apply at more D1s. I should get interviewed at more D1s, I guess. If you're going to apply to a D1, you should probably expect this question. This unique question that I've never heard of. I think I'm a spoon. I think I'm a spoon. Why? because like the spoon, like when you put it in like liquid, right, it like carries the liquid, like it's supportive of the liquid, and I feel like I'm a very supportive person.
Okay, so actually the way that
I hope
Good job.
potential hirers, employers are listening.
Good job, my love. So I actually, when I get stumped on these, I go backwards and I talk about what I wouldn't be so I can narrow it down and give me a little bit of time to
That's
say.
smart.
So in these, you
Smart.
have three spoon, fork, knife, right? So I talk about, I wouldn't be the knife because the knife you don't ever use alone. You're not ever going to have a meal where you're just using a knife. And I can work alone and I can also work in a group.
True.
So I don't think that supportive role really represents who I am.
Okay.
And so then I could narrow it down to the spoon or fork. And then that's when I would take the qualities of each and
So what you're saying is you would answer spork.
you know what? Actually,
Go with D.
when I got this question,
None of the above.
I was thinking about what I would answer. And I think if you say spork, that would be a good little, you know how you're supposed to give a couple of, not jokes, but like ease the tension.
A couple zingers.
But if you say spork and then you're serious after that, like you could play it off. It also gives you more time to think.
That's not wrong.
I've done that a couple times. There was one job that I was really comfortable with, and they were like, at the end, they said, "Is there anything else you would like to tell us?" And I said, "Yeah, I think you should hire me."
Man,
they enjoyed that.
You felt real comfortable in that
Don't
interview.
do that. Don't do that. I do not recommend.
What? It might go over huge.
No, I only did it because it got a laugh. It wasn't.
Well, hey,
And I
that
wasn't-
might be it.
You can't be overconfident in an interview.
Well, you didn't tell him like, "Hey, I can't wait to hear from you," or like, "Hey, I can't wait to see you on Monday." I mean, you didn't throw that one out
I wouldn't
there.
have done that if I didn't know them. Like, it was more of a formality interview. It was not like they were actually considered. I don't know.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Okay, more unique.
Yeah, here we go.
Okay,
Let's do this.
so this one is, I think it's unique, but apparently we got a ton of people who also said this one.
Okay.
So you should, if you're listening to this, you should also prepare for this question, apparently.
I guess I just did not get, I guess my interview committees have just been boring. I don't know.
Erin R. said, if you were a fruit, which fruit would you be and why? And she said, I would be a tomato because it sometimes surprises people who don't know it's a fruit and not a vegetable. It can be eaten by itself and it's great in salsa because it also tastes great when mixes with other ingredients. So she can work well by herself and she can also work well in a group.
I mean, that's pretty good.
And she's surprising.
That's a good thought. But let's see, the problem that I have with these questions is, what if you have someone on there who just does not like tomatoes? And then they start thinking about how they don't like tomatoes.
Then you are destined to not work there.
Yeah, see, like that's weird, because like I always say no tomatoes on my burgers.
You got one last night.
I know. After I said no tomatoes, they still gave it to me. It was messed up.
So Zuri,
I was trying to save their tomatoes.
So Zuri G actually also got this question at a D1. See, I think it's D1s that are just asking.
Apparently not the D1s I've been interviewed for.
She said, I would be an orange because they are full of vitamin C and I power through everything. I think we should put some of these up on our Facebook group. Maybe instead of question of the week, we can do question of the day and do like a couple of different unique interview questions.
It's not a bad idea.
And see what people say.
It's not a bad idea.
Also, the pizza question. She said a D3 asked her a pizza question. They asked her what pizza topping she would be and why.
Pepperoni.
Why? That's boring.
Yeah,
and
but
it gives me stomach aches.
Okay, so it may be boring, but it's definitely reliable. Most people are going to be able to go to that pizza and feel pretty confident with it, right?
So you're going to take the road most traveled?
I'm going to take the road most reliable.
Okay. Good spin.
That's right.
That's a good spin. I'll accept it.
See, I'm ready. I'm ready for my next interview, baby.
Zuri said, I usually say spicy Italian sausage because I have a little kick to me, but in the end, you'll love me.
That's pretty good. That's pretty funny. I like that.
All right. And April said, I got a sock one once. What kind of socks would you be? I told her tall socks with cool designs and probably mismatched. They laughed and told me people usually just say a color and I'd fit right in.
Okay, so my sock choice prior to Sandra was very vanilla.
Vanilla is not black with a Nike swoosh.
It means boring, okay? It means boring.
Pepperoni?
Pepperoni's not boring. It's good. But now my sock game is quite extensive because of my wife.
Yep.
And now it's become a part of me. And when I have to dress fancy, I still wear my fun socks because even if it's an interview or even if it's a conference, you can still wear fun socks. And that was noticed in my interview.
What do you mean?
After I got the job and stuff, everyone referred to me as, oh, you have fun socks, because they noticed my socks in the interview. And I said, oh yeah, I like having fun socks. So it was a 2-day interview. So the first day, saw the socks. Second day, saw the socks. I said I like them, and now everyone knows, oh yeah, Randy's got cool socks. He's got Star Wars socks, and I'm like, yeah, that's my thing. So hey, I understand the sock game. I bring it.
Well, just wait. You might be asked in an interview.
Oh, I'm ready for it.
Okay, so I want to talk about taboo questions.
Okay.
And this one is not really taboo, but it's kind of on the borderline, which is why I want to ask it. I want to segue with this.
Yeah.
This one's anonymous. This person was asked, how often do you get sick and what's considered an appropriate amount of sick days? This is not a taboo question. It's just weird.
That is weird to ask.
Because I don't think that's
weird.
Subjective. I don't think that's a subjective thing.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like that's none of their business.
Yeah. And this person said both questions were asked during the same interview at the same time. I thought it was a bit strange and I wasn't sure how to answer, considering I was a recent graduate when the interview occurred. Usually you get a certain amount of sick days anyway, so why would that even matter?
Yeah, exactly. It's not like I'm trying to get sick. Trust me, it's not an enjoyable experience for me either.
I mean, it would have been worse if they were like, what do you do on your sick days?
It depends how sick.
So we actually had a couple people, Jillian and Danielle, who got asked if they plan on having kids soon.
Oh, that's a big no-no. You can't ask that.
And they know they can't ask that. That's
You know what's funny is, again, on that one job interview that we've been talking about, it's weird, because obviously most people would think a female, they would try to ask that question to, even though they're not supposed to. I got asked that question.
Wait, what?
Yeah, at the dinner.
Really?
One of the committee members, which by the way was the head coach, asked that question. Got all weird because she was like, oh, I don't know if I'm supposed to ask that question. Yeah, I think that should have been a red flag.
Did you respond?
I said, at some point, yes. And they got all kind of selfish about their answer. So this, again, should have been a red flag.
Oh. I don't know. I don't remember this.
Oh, yeah.
Huh.
Should have been a red flag.
So if you want to know how other people answered, Danielle said, I was in a bit of a shock and said, no, but you're not allowed to ask that anyway. And he also asked if I was married to a man, which I thought was super sketchy.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
Again, see, that's probably a red flag that you don't want to work there anyways.
So Jillian actually, her mom works in admin / HR for the city and county. And so she said, I was well prepared. I told them that they knew they were not allowed to ask me that and I would not be answering. I should have taken that as a red flag, just like you said.
Exactly.
More seriously, because there were many more incidents once I accepted the job.
Exactly. You see, that's why the interview is also you interviewing them.
Yeah.
And I now know that from my life mistakes.
Another one. Now, if you're not going to have kids, apparently they also consider dogs. This person, Alyson S., said, I have an interview story. So in 2020, I was off work and at my friend's apartment watching her dog. I got a call from an AD of a junior college, and it was going like a normal phone interview. The dog I was watching barked, and the AD stopped his question and said, do you have a dog? I said, no, I'm watching it. He then asked if I was married, or if I was in a relationship. And again, he asked if I had a dog. Because apparently they provided housing for assistance, but I couldn't live there if I was married and had a dog.
That's so weird. First of all,
that's very specific.
First of all, if I was interviewing someone and they had a dog, the interview stops and we just talk about the dog.
Yeah.
Like, I've learned that I love dogs so much that in the athletic training room, if someone has like, oh, you want to see a picture of my dog? We stop everything to look at this dog.
Yeah.
100%. Dogs make everything better. What a random question.
I know. So weird. So Ashley was asked, as a woman, how do you work with male doctors?
What does that mean? Like, what kind of question's that?
Like, that doesn't scream sexism in the question.
That just screams, I don't want to work here.
Yeah.
If that's their thought I don't know. That's ridiculous.
So how would you, I mean, you're a man, but how, like, if you got a question like that, how would you go about answering that?
I don't know, man. That's a tough question. Like, I mean, if they did it the reverse way.
As a man, how do you work with female doctors?
I guess I would just be like, I don't know, like very respectful and just, I don't know. Like, how do you answer that question? Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, I would treat them how I treat every physician I talk to. I'm very respectful. You know, I try to give them all the information, respect their decisions, like all that. Like, I don't know. That's an odd question to get.
Yeah, so Ashley actually killed it. She said, I knew I would be working in a male-dominated field when I got into this career. It has yet to be an issue. I can hold my own as one of the boys.
I like it.
Yeah. Simple, to the point, kind of brushes off any questions that...
But it also sucks that she has to compare that I can hold her own like one of the boys. Like, why does she have to, you know what I mean? Like, why do we have to put her in that position to say, I could be with like one of the boys? Just be you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I think Christina N. put it the best. How to answer these questions, these taboo questions. How is that related to my profession?
It's a good answer.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Or as simple as what Jillian said. You know you're not allowed to ask me that, and I will not be answering.
Yeah, that's true. There's questions that they cannot ask, and you don't have to answer them.
So going back to the point that you are interviewing the people that you're working with. So Mason B said that I've actually never been asked this, but when I'm serious about a job, I will drop hints or blatantly state my sexuality. That way he can see like how they respond. He said, I don't want to be in a place that doesn't want me.
Yeah. You should be working at a place that accepts you for you.
Mm-hmm. Your skills, you as a person.
Absolutely, 100%.
Your personality.
Because when you think about it, like if you just took the average work day, which no athletic trainer really works the average work day anymore, or at least a lot of them don't. But if you just took 8 hours a day, right? You're spending almost a third of your day at your job.
Mm-hmm.
So you want that place to be accepting of you.
Yeah. There was one question that Jenn B got asked, and I think that this question really shows how you answer it. It shows, it's not a taboo question, by the way, but it shows if you want to be in that setting or not.
True.
She was asked, what is the most important part of being an athletic trainer at the high school?
Oh, that's a nice question.
I told them the relationships were the most important because if they don't trust you with the little things in their everyday life, they aren't going to trust you when they're injured. Same goes with the parents too. They need to know when they can trust you to take care of their kid. And if they don't have a relationship with you or see that their kid does, and then they won't trust you either. Really, that doesn't apply to just high school. I've always felt like my relationships with my athletes is the most important thing because it builds trust.
Oh, 100%.
And I feel like that has to vary person to person. Don't just steal this because if the relationships aren't the most important to you, then it's going to sound fake in your interview.
Yeah, 100%.
So we actually do have some advice before we go on through talking about what interview questions you should prepare for.
Okay.
So in general, Andrew gave some really great advice. He said, you got to research the school, find out who you'll be meeting with, have something to ask, even if it's not directly related to the job. How easy is it to find housing? What are the school districts in the area like? Etc.
Oh, 100%. Once I know who the committee is, oh man, I go hunting. I get on that staff directory, I read the bios, I understand their histories, where they came from, what they
Do you have any mutual friends or mutual colleagues?
That's a good thing to look. For mine, we did not.
That's really surprising.
There was no relation to anyone of mine.
Athletic training is such a small world. That's something really big to look into.
Yeah, it was again, the whole thing was unique for me. But yeah, no, definitely that's, and kind of along those lines, like what Andrew's saying about asking questions, like I like to ask what do you see the program, like even just like athletics in general, like where do you see the athletics needing to improve? Like what areas do they need to improve? Like what areas have you felt that are weak? What areas do you think you're strong? Kind of like asking the questions they would ask me.
Yeah, I think because a lot of times people ask what your goals are.
Yeah.
And you should also be interested in what the goals of the program are.
Yeah, what direction is the, program going in? Like what kind of answer do they give you? Do they just give you like an actual answer, or do they give you kind of like the oh, we want to be the best ever, and like, okay, well, like everyone kind of says like give me something more attainable, like what are you guys actually working on to get there?
And it might be a red flag if they haven't changed and they don't plan on changing.
Yes, very big red flag, I feel like.
And this actually I think will be my favorite part of the interview. Not the interview, this episode.
Is this an interview?
No, this is not an interview episode. Maybe when we our interview episode will actually give some real interview tips.
There we go. That'd be good.
Rather than what we just kind of sprinkled throughout here. So Jesse C said, when interviewing, you tend to think that pausing to think about your answer is a sign that you don't know the answer. But I want the pause. I want them to genuinely think about and properly formulate the answer instead of just rambling on until you get to the right answer. Silence can be intimidating, so your reaction is to simply make noise by talking. Don't do it. Take the time. Most likely, the interview will be impressed.
Oh, 100%. I learned that too. I was told that advice too. So I purposely try to just think like, okay, like let's slow down, so I don't try to rush into an answer, because I will do that. I will just ramble if I rush into an answer. So yes, I agree. I definitely try to I'm not worried about if I have to stop and think about my answer.
I think the silence before your answer feels a lot longer to you than it does to the people whose hearts aren't racing like yours.
Oh, definitely. Or the person sweating profusely.
Okay, so lastly, I want to go over one more crazy taboo question that someone got asked.
Okay.
That kind of relates to something that I know someone was asked that one of my colleagues was asked.
Okay.
So someone said, an interviewer asked me if my classmates had graduated yet. And then they also asked me if one of my other classmates had taken the BOC yet and passed. I was like, I'm not allowed to answer that question. I told them I didn't know, even though I did know the answer. It was totally none of their business.
That's very weird.
Which leads me to my colleague one time got a question, why should we hire you over this person? And named that person.
Oh. That's
and
messed up.
Yeah, it was their classmate.
That's messed up.
Yeah.
That's messed up.
Like, how do you answer that? Like, what do you
I think
do
you have to take a neutral stance on that. I think you just have to almost vaguely just answer like, here's what I bring, here's what this person brings, and that's it. Like, not say that, oh, I'm better than that person. No. I think that's the only way. I think you just take it neutral.
Yeah, that's like red flag territory.
Oh, 100%. I would not want to work there.
So, do you want to share your interview experience?
My weird dinner one?
Yeah.
Okay. So, for certain universities, and this was like a D1 level, a lot of the interviews are multiple days. So mine was a 2-day interview after the phone interview. So, they put me up in a hotel to be, in the city and stuff. And the first day I was there, we went out to dinner. That's, by the way, where I got the family question. Very weird. But anywho, so we're going to go meet for dinner. So I got there early, of course. So I'm ready. And then it was one of the other athletic trainers, who obviously was part of the committee, met me there first. So we had some time to kill before 2 other committee members were coming. And he was like, oh, here, like, let's go get a beer. I'm like, okay. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what the etiquette is in this situation. Like, I don't want them to think like, oh God, he's an alcoholic. He's drinking during the interview. So I was just like, oh, okay. Like, I was thinking, I already had in my head, I'm just going to get a soda and like, I'm going to be okay. It'll be fine. And then he looks at me, he's like, here, you want to like split one? Like we're going to go half, like, because he didn't want a full one. And he's like, so he'd get me half. And I was like, sure. Because like he's drinking now. I'm like, okay, I guess it's okay.
Is this a test?
Yeah, is this like, that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, is this a test? And he's like, no, dude, it's fine. I'm like, okay. So whatever. We had like half a pint before dinner. And then, so went to dinner.
I would have turned red. I don't think I...
Yes, you would have.
I don't think that's a good look for an interview.
Yes, you would have, for sure. Luckily, my liver's pretty strong, so I was pretty good. I was good to go. And so whatever, we had dinner, and we all of us chatted. And then after the dinner, the athletic trainer that I was with was going to show me around like the city, like just drive me around and just show me like what the city looks like. So whatever, we did that. Like, right, we drove around the city, and then he was like, dude, you want to get a beer? Let's go to like one more spot. I'm like, okay. Again, this kind of feels weird. Like, I don't know, like it's an interview and I'm having a beer with it, as my interview.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess they like, that's kind of the point, is they want to get to know you as a person.
I mean, if you're creating a family atmosphere and people are hanging out outside work.
Yeah. So like, I get it. It's just weird that like, should I be drinking alcohol on this interview? But whatever, like it went well, and that's all the vibe, like athletic training rooms that I've been in. That's what that's what you do in your off time. Like, obviously you don't get like hammered, right? But like you go out with your coworkers and you hang out and, you're social with them. So that's why like, I thought like, oh, that was kind of cool. And then, the next day was kind of like a full day. Woke up in the morning, had breakfast with a few of the other staff athletic trainers who weren't like actually on the committee, but a few of the staff. So I had breakfast with them, talked with them. And then rest of the morning, met with the committee again, met more of the staff athletic trainers. And then I was out of there, I think, by lunch.
That's the longest interview. I've never had one that long.
It was definitely long because of just all the people you meet.
Yeah.
And all the conversations you have.
You have to be on the entire time.
100%. 100%. Like, it was a cool experience. And, like, it was, like I said, there were definitely, looking back, obviously hindsight's always 20/20, but there were definitely some red flags that now that I have experienced it and now that I'm older, I wish I could have told myself, yeah, you don't want that job.
So going into how to prep, Karina G said, how I prep is I list 10 to 15 common questions out and I write a short answer for each. So when I'm asked, I already have put thought into basic questions. So no matter which way they ask them, you have a basic answer that you can elaborate on.
Yeah.
Personally, I retain information best after writing things down, so this helps me a lot. Also, having 3 to 4 questions ready at the end to ask them.
Oh, yes, definitely. Definitely ask questions. And a lot of people just like tell you like, oh, you should ask questions. Like, just ask any questions. No, ask questions that actually mean something to you. Like, ask them.
Don't just ask like, how did you get into athletic training?
Yeah, like ask something that actually has value to you and you want to know about that place.
Yeah. So if this is a good way that you guys prep or that you want to prep, we're going to be listing out a bunch of common questions that you guys submitted to us in our Instagram stories, and we're going to put those in our Facebook group. So if you are going to interview soon, you can go ahead and look through those and see if you have an answer prepared for some of these common questions that people have had.
Nice.
If you're not part of our Facebook group yet, go to facebook.com/group/atcornerpodcast. It's a group that you can join. or you can just search AT Corner Community in the search bar. If you're new, every other episode is education or stories. This one was obviously a story episode, so next week we're going back to our education. And I don't think I have anything else. Do you have anything else?
Nope, that was perfect. Thank you for helping us showcase athletic training behind the tape. Bye.